الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد, continuing with 30 themes from 30 verses, and we are discussing each night one of the names of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, or some of the names of Allah Azza wa Jal from His beautiful names. And today, on the fourth day of Ramadan, we are going to discuss the name of Allah, Al-Hafeedh, the guardian, the protector. This is also one of the beautiful names of Allah. And this is mentioned in the Qur'an. I want you to find out how many times is this name of Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the book of Allah. From the places that we find it in the Qur'an is the saying of Allah, Inna Rabbi ala kulli shay'in hafeedh. Surah Hud. Indeed, my Lord is the guardian, the preserver, the protector of all things. Inna Rabbi ala kulli shay'in hafeedh. Indeed, my Lord is the guardian, or the protector, or the preserver of all things. And this name, Al-Hafeedh, indicates that from the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-hifz, preservation and protection. And Imām al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, Imām al-Sa'di rahimahullah, he explains the meaning of this name, al-Hafeedh, by saying, الَّذِي حَفِظَ مَا خَلَقَ. Allah is al-Hafeedh, the protector, the guardian, the preserver. He is the guardian and the protector. He is the one who preserves what He has created. Al-Hafeedh, the guardian, the protector, is the one who preserves what He has created. وَأَحَاطَ عِلْمُهُ بِمَا أَوْجَدَهُ, whose knowledge encompasses everything He brought into existence. وَحَفِظَ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ مِنْ وَقُوعِهِمْ فِي الذُّنُوبِ وَالْهَلَكَاتِ, and He protects His allies, the righteous, pious servants. He protects them from falling into sins and destruction. وَلَطَفَ بِهِمْ فِي الْحَرَكَاتِ وَالسَّكَنَاتِ, and He deals with them gently in their movements and their moments of stillness. وَأَحْصَى عَلَى الْعِبَادِ أَعْمَالَهُمْ وَجَزَاءَهَا. تفضل, you can get me some. We have class inshallah, you have to go with him, okay? Jazakallah khair. وَلَطَفَ بِهِمْ فِي الْحَرَكَاتِ وَالسَّكَنَاتِ, and He deals with them gently in their movements and moments of stillness. وَأَحْصَى عَلَى الْعِبَادِ أَعْمَالَهُمْ وَجَزَاءَهَا, and He records all of the deeds of the servants and their reward. And then He said, Al-Hafeedh, Al-Hafeedh, Imām al-Sa'di, he said, وَالْحَفِيظ يَتَدَمَّنُ مَعْنَيْنِ. Al-Hafeedh, the guardian, the protector, it carries two meanings. The first, أحدهما أنه قد حفظ على عباده ما عملوه من خير. So the first meaning of Al-Hafeedh, أنه قد حفظ على عباده ما عملوه من خير وشر وطاعة ومعصية, is that He has recorded and preserved everything His servants do, whether good or bad, whether obedience or disobedience. Now, brothers and sisters, knowing this should cause the servant to be conscious of Allah, muraqabat Allah, knowing that Allah Azza wa Jal records everything that you do. Everything. فإن علمه محيطا بجميع أعمالهم ظاهرها وباطنها. His knowledge encompasses all of their actions, the apparent and hidden. Also, our intentions. Allah Azza wa Jal Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He records and preserves our intentions. Again, encouraging us to be sincere, ikhlas, doing things sincerely for the sake of Allah, seeking His face and His pleasure, not to show off, not to impress people. وَقَدْ كَتَبَ ذَلِكَ فِي اللَّوْحِ الْمَحْفُوظِ. And Allah recorded, He has written all of this in the preserved tablet. نعم وَوَكَّلَ بِالْعِبَادِ مَلَائِكَةً كِرَامًا كَاتِبِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. He appointed for every single one of us, every human being, angels who have been appointed. Their role, their responsibility is to record the deeds of the servants, and they know whatever you do. So that's the first meaning of Al-Hafeedh. The second meaning of Al-Hafeedh, أنه تعالى الحافظ لعباده من جميع ما يكرهون وحفظه لخلقه نوعان عام وخاص. The second meaning of Al-Hafeedh, Allah Azza wa Jal is the guardian, the protector, the preserver. The second meaning of Allah's preservation and protection is that He protects His servants from everything that they dislike. And this type of preservation and protection is of two types. And I'll read from one of the people of knowledge who summarize basically the words of Imām al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala. So Allah's protection of His servants, Allah's preservation of His servants is of two types. Al-'am, general. Fal-'am, the general protection, the general preservation of the servants, حِفْظُهُ لَهُمْ بِتَيْسِيرِهِ لَهُمَ الطَّعَامُ وَالشَّرَابُ وَالْهَوَى. حِفْظُهُ لَهُمْ بِتَيْسِيرِهِ لَهُمَ الطَّعَامُ وَالشَّرَابُ وَالْهَوَى. General preservation. In the general sense, Allah preserves the servants by providing. Allah Azza wa Jalla preserves and protects the creation by providing them with food, drink, and air, directing them وَهِدَايَتِهِمْ إِلَى مَصَالِحِهِمْ, directing them to what benefits them. وَإِلَى مَا قَدَّرَ لَهُمْ وَقَضَى لَهُمْ مِنْ ضُرُورَاتٍ وَحَاجَاتٍ وَهِيَ الْهِدَايَةِ الْعَامَّةِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directs them to what benefits them in terms of necessities and need. وَهِدَايَتِهِمْ إِلَى مَصَالِحِهِمْ وَإِلَى مَا قَدَّرَ لَهُمْ وَقَضَى لَهُمْ مِنْ ضُرُورَاتٍ وَحَاجَاتٍ وَهِيَ الْهِدَايَةِ الْعَامَّةِ. So this is general guidance. التي قال عنها سبحانه, about which Allah He said, الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. He, Allah, who gave everything its form and then He guided it. وحفظهم بدفع أصناف المكاره. Allah preserves and protects the creation by repelling various harms from them, والمضار and dangers, والشرور and evil عنهم. وهذا الحفظ يشترك فيه البر والفاجر بل الحيوانات وغيرها. And this type of protection and preservation includes the wicked person and the righteous person. Rather, all of the animals and other than them. Yes, everything is protected in that sense. وَقَدْ وَكَّلَ بِبَنِي آدَمَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla has appointed malaika, angels, to the children of Adam, يَحْفَظُونَهُمْ بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ كَمَا قَالَ سُبْحَانَهُ. And these angels, they protect them by the command of Allah. As Allah said, لَهُمْ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jalla has appointed for every person successive angels. Angels in the morning, angels in the evening. And these angels, they protect the person by the command of Allah, due to the command of Allah. Now, أي يدفعون عنه بأمر الله. So they protect the individual by the command of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So that's the general type of protection. However, wal-khas, that specific, special type of preservation and protection. Remember, that's similar to yesterday when we spoke about al-rizq al-am wal-rizq al-khas. General provision, special and specific provision. The specific protection of Allah. And remember, this is derived from the name Al-Hafeedh. Allah, the guardian, the protector, the preserver. حِفْظُهُ لِأَوْلِيَائِهِ. This is Allah's protection of His allies, the righteous servants. This is Allah's preservation, Allah's protection of the righteous servants. إِضَافَةً إِلَى مَا تَقَدَّمَ. And this is in addition to what was mentioned earlier about al-hifdh al-am, the general protection and preservation. Allah Azza wa Jalla, how does He preserve and protect His allies, the righteous servants of Allah? بِحِفْظِ إِيمَانِهِمْ مِنَ الشُّبَهِ الْمُضِلَّةِ وَالْفِتَنَ الْجَارِفَةِ وَالشَّهَوَاتِ الْمُهْلِكَةِ. Allah protects their faith. Yes, Allah Azza wa Jalla protects the faith of His allies, protects their faith مِنَ الشُّبَهِ الْمُضِلَّةِ, from misguiding doubts that may cause people to deviate and go astray. Allah will protect the righteous, His righteous servants. He will protect them from overwhelming trials and tribulations. Meaning, those trials, you may see them destroying people. But as for the righteous servant of Allah, the awliya of Allah, the wali of Allah, Allah protects them from these fitan al-jarifa, these overwhelming and these serious trials and tests. Likewise, He protects them min ash-shahawat al-muhlika, those desires that will destroy a person, those lusts and desires that destroy people. فَيُعَافِيهِمْ مِنْهَا. Allah will save them from all of these things. Also, in addition to that, it doesn't just stop there. That is why, brothers and sisters, yes, knowing this name of Allah, Naam, it should result in the servant preserving the commands of Allah, being mindful of the commands of Allah, as we will see later from the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. Yes, knowing that Allah is Al-Hafeedh, and this is how He protects and preserves His awliya, His righteous allies. Naam, we should want to be amongst them. Because in addition to what we mentioned, Allah protecting their faith from misguiding and doubts that will cause a person to deviate, Allah protecting them from fitan, trials and tribulations that are overwhelming. Allah protecting them from lusts that will destroy. Allah also وَيَحْفَظُهُمْ مِنْ أَعْدَائِهِمْ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ. Allah protects them from their enemies, from the jinn and humans. فَيَنْصُرُهُمْ عَلَيْهِمْ. And Allah gives His allies victory over their enemies from the jinn and the humans. وَيَدْفَعُ عَنْهُمْ كَيْدَ الْأَعْدَاءِ وَمَكْرَهُمْ. And Allah will repel from them and defend them from the plotting and the scheming of their enemies. And again, pause here. Knowing the name of Allah Al-Hafeedh. Naam, if you fulfill the commands of Allah, stay away from the prohibitions, you won't be scared of what people are going to do to you. You won't be scared because you know Allah is Al-Hafeedh. Allah is the guardian. Allah is the protector. And no harm will ever befall you except by the will of Allah. So that helps save a person from anxiety, depression, walking around scared, walking around paranoid. Some people, they're paranoid. They can't even be around people. They can't be around people. A gathering like this, some people, they have a level of paranoia, they can't be around people. Knowing Allah is Al-Hafeedh, Allah protects the servant. Naam, you won't have that level of paranoia. This is the importance of knowing the names and attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As Allah, He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Indeed, Allah defends those who believe. Look what Allah said. Don't fear any human being. You know Allah is Al-Hafeedh, you will not fear any human being. Why? Because Allah is Al-Hafeedh. يَحْفَظُهُمْ يَحْفَظُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ مِنْ أَعْدَائِهِمْ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ. He will protect His allies, the righteous servants, from their enemies, from the humans and the jinn. Not just only the humans, not just only the humans and the jinn. And that word we can't see. As Allah, He promised, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Indeed, Allah defends those who believe. وَعَلَى حَسَبِ مَا عِنْدَ الْعَبْدِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ تَكُنْ مُدَافَعَةُ اللَّهِ عَنْهُ. And Allah's protection of the servant depends on the level and the strength of their faith. The stronger a person's iman, the more Allah will defend them. The stronger a person's iman, the more Allah will defend them. That is why we have narrations about some of the companions. They would take one path, and what did you reach? Who? Who would take another? Huh? Hassan, nah. Sheikh got a bit confused. ولهذا قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في وصيته لابن عباس. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said to Ibn Abbas, احفظ الله يحفظك. We should all memorize that. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. Come back here then, adhan. We'll continue inshallah after the adhan inshallah ta'ala. Now, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in his advice to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, احفظ الله يحفظك. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. Allah will preserve you. احفظ الله يحفظك. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. Allah will preserve you. Be mindful of Allah, be mindful of the commands of Allah. Fulfill the commands of Allah. Most important command of Allah is at-Tawheed, to worship Him alone, without any partners, staying away from shirk. Now, after that, the prayer, the 5 daily prayers. So if you want Allah to protect you now, you have to pray 5 times a day. Fulfilling the commands, staying away from the prohibitions. احفظ الله يحفظك. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. Allah Azza wa Jalla will protect you. And we heard the way that Allah protects the servant in various ways. Meaning this hadith, احفظ أوامره بالامتثال. Preserve the commands of Allah by obeying them. وَنَوَاهِيَهُ بِالِاجْتِنَابِ. And preserve the prohibitions by staying far away from them. وَحُدُودَهُ بِعَدَمِ تَعَدِّيهَا. And preserve His boundaries by not transgressing them. And Allah will protect you as it relates to yourself. Allah will protect you as it relates to your religion. Allah will protect you as it relates to your wealth. Allah will protect you as it relates to your children. Allah will protect you in everything that He has given you. That is a promise from the promises of Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's a promise of Allah. That is a promise from the promises of Allah. Allah protects His righteous servants. The Prophet ﷺ said, احفظ الله يحفظك. Be mindful of Allah. Preserve the commands of Allah. Stay away from the prohibitions of Allah. Don't transgress the boundaries of Allah, and Allah will protect you. Even your health, yes. You obey Allah, you don't get high, don't take drugs, don't drink alcohol. That's one of the ways, alhamdulillah, you, inshallah, in the future Allah will protect your mind and your body. And I mentioned this in the past. Sometimes you meet people the same age as you, but they've been tried and tested with khamr, alcohol, ijlis. Or they've been tried and tested, and I said, or they've been tried and tested with drug addiction, or other than that, and they look way older, than they are, or they have many health issues and illnesses and problems. Also the mind. Be mindful of Allah, Allah will protect you. He will protect your intellect. Yes, protect your intellect from going insane, mental illness. Look how many people have mental illness from abuse, various types of abuse. Whether it's abuse of the body or abuse of the mind. Because of their disobedience, immorality and indecency. The more a person becomes immersed in those things, it has a scar upon the soul. Be mindful of Allah, Allah will protect your mind. Be mindful of Allah, Allah will protect your heart. Be mindful of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jalla will protect your religion. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you, and He will protect everything that He has given you. And you see that. Look at how the ulama, they're sharp in their 90s. Even some of them, they pass 100 and they're still sharp in their mind. They still go to the masjid and pray in the masjid. It's amazing. That is why it was said to an old man, when they were amazed, they were surprised the way that he boarded, that he jumped onto a boat. And they said, you've reached such and such an age. Look how agile you are. He was moving like someone that was young. He said, I preserved the commands of Allah when I was young. I was mindful of Allah when I was young. And Allah preserved my limbs when I got old. Allahu Akbar. Al-Hafeedh, the guardian, the preserver, the protector, knowing that also encourages us to do righteous deeds, because you want your righteous deeds to be preserved for you. On a day when you stand before Allah, when wealth, nor children, or anything will avail us. When we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for success. Did anyone find out yesterday when I said the homework, how many times is Khair al-Raziqeen mentioned in the book of Allah? Faddal. Ijlis. Mahadir said 1. Faddal. 5. Naam, I have 5. Anyone have anything different? Again, how many times for today is the name of Allah Hafeedh mentioned in the Qur'an? And Ikhwan, subhanAllah, look how many ayat of the Qur'an Allah mentions His names. How many? Look how many ayat in the Qur'an Allah closes the verse by mentioning His names. Showing the importance of learning them. So who can give us the names that we've learned so far without screaming out? Who can give us all 5 I think we're up to? Abdurrahman, Faddal. Huh? Al-Hafeedh, that's 1. The guardian, the protector, the preserver. We didn't do Ar-Rahman. Ijlis. Who got the 5? Sheikh Mahajir, Faddal. Al-Ghafur, the forgiving. Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. Ijlis. Abu Fatima. Al-Ghafur, the forgiving. Al-Rahim, the most merciful. Al-Hakim, the all-wise. Al-Razzaq, the all-provider. And today Al-Hafeedh, the guardian, the protector, the preserver. Khalas, in 1, that's 5. Memorize them, understand them. It's important. Aqeedah, correct belief, is vital. And as we said, one of the reasons why we see a lot of corruption in people's actions and behavior, some people behave like they're not even Muslims, they don't know the Islamic belief. They don't know it. That's why it's important we learn it for ourselves, we benefit ourselves, we inform others. MashaAllah, look how many young people attending the classes in the masjid. Wallah, it's amazing and it's beautiful. We should welcome them. Now, giving them nasiha. But look, even for them, for you as young people, you go back to school and you tell people, now, do you know the name of Allah? Kada? Teach your people around you. Because yes, Islam is the truth. But it's not just about wearing a thobe. It's not just about wearing the hijab. There's also a belief. There is also worship. There's also character. There's also behavior that goes with all of that. And this will, inshallah ta'ala, help you understand those things, and may Allah grant us all success. Wa subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an